Welcome back. Because of the history of my particular ethnic group, it is undeniable that there are some leftovers from our treatment that we experienced in the past, and a lot of that trauma has been passed on from generation to generation. And so today we're going to address one of those particular traumas. And this trauma expresses itself as a prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone. And it's usually in amongst individuals of the same ethnic group. So, what was that definition about? What are we talking about? Well, the subject that we've chosen for this particular segment is colorism. Now, just the word colorism in a lot of people's mind might incite a negative response. But for the time being, let's put emotions to the side and let's logically look at this situation and see if we can come to a better understanding. So what we have is a video where we have a group of African American women discussing exactly what colorism is and how it has had an impact on their lives. So let's look at the video and see what insights we can gain.
Is colorism still a problem? Kim, what do you think about that? Do you think colorism is a problem? Is still a problem?
I think it is still a problem. I think it's getting better, much better. But it's among us. You know, that's the. Yeah. And it is, and that becomes from the very beginning of time, because when, you know, we had the light-skinned people in the house, and with the darker you are, the further you are in the field. So yeah, that was ingrained in us. So we're not that many generations away. I think it's getting better now, like the sister with no hair, and this one right here, dark chocolate, and you see all these beautiful colors, and we're embracing each other. You know, my mother, I thought she was white till I was 9 years old. That's a problem. And then one day I went home, I was like, "You white, mama?" And then she cussed me out like she was black, so then I knew that she was a black woman. So, and my father is very dark, you know? So I had all these different shades in my family, but we never in our family said like, "Oh, you light skin, you brown skin." We never had that in our family. But outside and in the community, we have it. I went to Fisk University, and they would say, "Oh, you can't run from Miss Fisk," or "You too light," or "You can't." I was like, "Too light? What's happening here? I'm at a black college."
It's us, though. It's us. I'm telling you.
We do it to us.
Yeah, it's us. And remember, I was saying earlier, we can't expect people to do what we have not figured out how to do ourselves. I have a father that.
So now up until this point, as Ms. Whitley was speaking about, what you can see is that, like we mentioned in the beginning, there's a carryover. And just to elaborate just a little bit on the point that she made, one of the documented behaviors during slavery was just what she recited. The more darker toned individuals that were slaves were put in the fields to do the work, the manual labor, and the fairer toned slaves were kept in the house to attend to those individuals that stayed in that particular area. And so there was a contrast, whether an individual realized it or not, there's a contrast between an individual who is a darker skin tone and a lighter skin tone in the African American community because of that precedent. The precedent is set that the fairer tone individuals are more acceptable because they were more acceptable to the society of that time. Maybe the darker skinned individuals were less acceptable, and so that's why they were given the harsh menial labor that they had to do. But at any rate, we are removed from that particular custom, almost 400 years removed. Is it time to start tearing down these structures, these notions that divide us as a community, as an ethnic group? I think so. But now let's continue with the video and let's see what Monica has to say.
That is blonde hair and blue eyed. So what he would always tell me how the difference in them What was that look for?
I apologize. Okay, go ahead, one more time. It was judgment, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But we do it to ourselves.
We
I
do.
think we minimize things that really become big later.
I'm gonna bring in a couple folks here.
The way we think about color, the closer you are to whiteness and lightness, good. The closer you are to darkness and black, dirty, bad. We already are black, and so we're already labeled as dirty, bad. It's not black people's fault that when I see the light-skinned girl that I think she's better or she got more privilege than me. Because that's what the white people tell me. That's what these stories tell me. That's what television tells me. And so we have to think of it with a different lens of it's not our fault. This is what they told us. And we have to fight against that and think more on a grounds of we are black people, we are people.
You're gonna come right here.
Okay, now, ordinarily, I would acquiesce to that kind of thinking. I wouldn't cause a difficulty. I would not pause when I hear that. But in this particular discussion, I think it's necessary that we pause and analyze what the young lady just said. Okay, first of all, it is our responsibility, I believe, in any ethnic group's responsibility to take command of how they are presented. If you do it on an individual basis, and if enough people take accountability for the way that they present themselves to the world, then the whole ethnic image will improve. And so just because it's perpetuated in the media or in music or any other type of media that we consume does not mean that we have to identify with and then apply. Because see, it's easy for us to look at situations that are clear cut. Individuals are caught because they're murderers. We don't take on that behavior because we saw it on TV. We don't ascribe to that thought pattern because we saw it on TV. So it's the same way with these deeply entrenched notions that were carryovers from slavery. We don't have to subscribe to these particular notions. We don't have to make them a part of us. And I say that for any ethnic group, the stereotypes that are associated with that particular ethnic group, no matter what group you are in, you do not have to succumb to those particular stereotypes, especially if those stereotypes cause individuals to look at you in a negative way. Now, I cannot agree with the fact that we can't control that, because looking at a situation where these stereotypes are being pushed, then that particular ethnic group, it's their responsibility to change the narrative. So let's keep going.
Growing up, I didn't have a real good support from my mom. She was really color struck. We're the same color. And my mom did not love her color. So growing up, I didn't know how to love myself. I used to be the girl that I have to buy weave because if I don't, nobody's gonna like me. And now I cut off all my hair because that's something I've always wanted to do. And I was terrified to do it because I was like, people are gonna hate me so much for cutting off my hair. But when I did it, I felt so beautiful and free. Nobody could tell me anything. At that point, I was a beautiful black woman with short hair, and you can't tell me anything about myself.
Black people aren't the only people who have colorism issues. I think the challenge for the black community is that we've internalized it and we've made it more vicious than it has to be in today's society. There are many people on Twitter who comment on how dark I am. I'm medium tone.
Right.
I'm too dark for some, I'm too light for others, and for a lot of them, I'm too round. But our opportunity is to decide who we intend to be in the space and how we're going to treat others in that space with us.
Yes.
Because whether we see the prejudice
India.
or we see the privilege, there are those who are making decisions about us, and they are imposing those decisions on us when they hire, when they fire, when they send a preschooler to time out, or when they send a teenager to prison. Those choices are being made, so we can't dismiss that it exists, but we can build the protections around ourselves so that we aren't doing it internally.
Do you think it's changing very much?
Okay. So now with Ms. Abrams, that comment is absolutely logical, because one thing you cannot control what other individuals decide in regards to your appearance, especially when it comes to color, skin tone, whatever you would call it, ethnicity, because those are not things that you choose. You're given those things at birth. But it is necessary to, as Ms. Abrams mentioned, to develop a protection around yourself as well as other individuals that are in the space. Now, I'll give you an example. When I was born, I just happened to be the darkest of all of the 5 children that my mother gave to my father. I just happened to be the darkest. And when I was born, the statement was from my grandmother, from my aunts, from everyone that saw me, that I was a pretty black baby. And for the most part, that particular phrase, that particular thought followed me throughout my lifetime. It was always a wonderful thing, my skin tone was. It was something that I was proud of. It was something that I never, ever questioned. Because if I can survive in a society where my skin tone is looked upon as being dangerous, as threatening, if I can survive and still come to you in peace and positivity, I think that instead of it being a drawback, it was actually a blessing for me. Because it made me realize very early on that my character, the quality of who I am, would have to outweigh my appearance. And so I set about becoming a man that would have those character traits, those qualities that would make a person respect me regardless of my color. And so I think that would be the logical way that we would proceed as an ethnic group or any ethnic group that's facing stereotypes. The way you present to the world does not allow individuals to be disrespectful to you or your ethnic group. And as a group, if you maintain that respect, if you call for it, then I think it's achievable. But let's keep going.
Yes. I mean, it's absolutely getting better because we talk about it. When you deny a problem, you can't fix the problem. And I think what's helpful for all of us is that we're actually talking about this as an issue and we're talking about solutions.
Ma'am, I'd love to hear from you.
I am light-skinned, but I have never been treated like I was white in my life. I've always been black. I've never felt any different from anybody else. And when I go to work, when I went to school, I was treated like a black woman. I was disrespected like a black woman. So it bothers me when people think because you're light-skinned, you're treated differently. I have never had that advantage in my life.
All right. So, closing thoughts. There are many things that have been left over from our history in the United States, some good, some bad. But as individuals, I feel it's our obligation and our responsibility to deal with any repercussions of our history in a way that will help the next generation. Now, this is one of the things that has been passed down, colorism. I think that in the long run, I think that this does everyone a disservice because you cannot possibly understand the dynamics of a person, their personality, their life experience, what they could possibly offer to you and to the world by simply looking at their skin tone. I think that is outrageous and at the same time egregious. Because if I'm going to judge you by your skin tone, if I'm going to look at you and come to certain conclusions about you as a person based upon your appearance, then how shallow does that make me? Why not put forth just a little extra effort to get to know an individual, to see who that person is? And then once you have come to an accurate estimation of that person's personality and their character traits, then you can feel free to make whatever judgment you want. But to make a judgment on something as small as skin color, because it is small, there's only a small fraction of cells that determine what color a person will be. And that determination is not made by choice. That determination is hereditary. It's genetic. So why are we having a conversation about something that's genetic as if it's something that has been chosen by someone. Listen, as I mentioned, there are several things from our history that we need to do away with. This is one. This is a situation that needs to completely be done away with, especially within our community. Because if we're going to be unified, if there's going to be peace, if individuals are going to move forward in positivity, these notions, this misinformation that's being passed down from generation to generation, and then the misinformation is having its effect in what we choose to do in our actions, we have to stop these things. We have to stop it. As we saw in the panel, they were saying that these certain situations, they are getting better. But I think it's time for us to do away with it altogether. Do away with it altogether. Anything that's a stumbling block to positivity, you already know I'm not for it. Anything that's a stumbling block to a person looking in the mirror and seeing what they truly are, a unique and a divine creation. If anything prevents you from seeing yourself that way, then it's your obligation and your opportunity at this point in your life to do away with it. This is not an issue that our descendants need to deal with. This is not an issue that the next generation should have to fight with. We need to get rid of it now. But those have been my thoughts. I hope that you enjoyed this segment. Colorism is something that's real. It's not imaginary. But as always, I hope that everything is going well for you. And I hope that things are going in a positive direction. But as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Be easy.